All right. So, I guess welcome. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Last week got us kind of thrown off between weather and people being sick and this and that. So, if I sound a little weird, I am still stopped up for my ears. I've been on medication for about a week now. So, other than that, we're good to go. Um,
Do we have a quorum? I mean, can we vote to approve minutes? I mean, we don't,
We need a quorum here to vote
Right.
everybody in to, yeah.
so we'll just have to table the minutes. for
Okay.
time.
so I guess we'll start with, Jonathan then, the status of the budget and upcoming priorities.
All right, well, the status is good. Things are going well for us. The Bones and Booze was a success. Roughly 2,300 visitors to the museum. Again, that's significant revenues through just admissions, but we also have the corporate partnership tie-in there, and then, other sources that kind of come along with that. Festivals are a good way to build community, and especially around the Martinsville, Henry County area. Just those funding sources really help. And then, of course, Christian Homeschool participation remains nearly at capacity. She's getting ready to crank that up with the new educator Annabelle on the team, so we should be ready to rock with the full set this summer. Uh, General admission strong. I think we're pulling out of COVID. I think algorithm, we're averaging a couple of years and trying to forecast ahead. I think we're finally narrowing in on a pretty consistent growth rate there, between 6 and 12% each year. Grant funding continues to be strong. Hayden, the Cultural Heritage Monitoring Lab, receives additional grants from Smithsonian and continuance on for the rest of this fiscal year. Of course, there's all other funding through the Virginia Department of Historic Resources. And then big kind of, I guess, over other years, additional private donations or added to the endowment. I know that's a big story that we can kind of touch on a little bit later in the advancement report. Otherwise, there's no real surprises. Spending just kind of unforeseen one-time improvements for the facility. That'd be something like the water pump went out or something like that. That's the only time we're going to see any kind of variance. Jumping over to the balance sheet, the additional appropriation came through 80,997. That covers 3% increases in health insurance and you have 3% increase, and then the everything else goes up to with it. We had hoped for some money to support the VITA program with the museum, but we were just given the increases in the 3%. Let's see, missed for the museum, kind of like I spoke on earlier. 50% there, just kind of catching up with the averages are finally leveling out, and our forecasts are tightening up there. So that's pretty good. 50% through the year, or 50% of revenues. Everything seems in line. Receipts from city and county. Christy, as always, does an amazing job working with the city and the county to get those funds in. I know last board meeting there's a bit of a delay on the city's part, but we provided them with some grace. I think they had 5 people in their office. All 5 are gone now, have been replaced with 2 new people.
Mhm.
So their whole fiscal office left, and they've had to find a couple new souls to add. Restricted gifts will continue to increase as the work on the pavilion progresses. And then again, Christy doing an amazing job, classes, workshops, educational programs, doing really well again this year. And I assume will continue on into the future doing really well. Another note, just a staff training partnership with the foundation, board of trustees, and museum staff. It's been a real success over the last 2 years. $7,500 allocated.
You're talking about the professional development.
Mm-hmm. Professional development, staff training. Allocated 750. A lot of the scientists I know use that money to match other funds that they have. So they're using that money to leverage funding on their side, and we get a lot more bang for our buck there. It's really been successful. I know my staff enjoys it. That we do. They have to do a certain amount of hours for purchasing or human resources. Have to get their hours in so that they enjoy having those funds to be able to actually go to the conference instead of having to watch videos.
Right.
And try to get those points, and do the online videos with tests at the end. They're fun. Insurance to be right in line, just an example of something that we wait to the end of the year to pay or not. Then organizational memberships for professional organizations that we're part of. Going into the end of fiscal year 24. Of course, we couldn't plan on Nancy retiring. Mary Zell making her exit. Jerome retiring. So several retirements pushed the budget a little too tight. So we rolled our organizational memberships over to this fiscal year.
Which one was Jerome?
Maintenance, fellow?
Yeah,
He was
super
with
nice.
us for,
Yeah.
like
Yep.
7, 8 years.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's teaching swimming lessons at the Y now in Martinsville.
Oh, okay.
We went right next door.
Good for him.
Alrighty then.
Really nothing, no anomalies to report in the budget. Everything looked to be in line. I'm proud of my forecast that we're at 50% of revenue for 50% of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Do you want to jump into capital projects? Or is there any questions?
There's not really
Yeah,
there's not really a section for that, so I would say
Yeah,
go
go.
ahead and do it, unless you guys have any.
yeah, questions a little bit?
No, because I was some of the stuff about, I know Mark sending out emails and stuff about wanting to be at the meeting, something about cutting what may have been vetted and proposed by senior staff and cut to achieve X numbers. He's wanting to cut something. I don't.
I have to admit, I think I missed this.
I was kind of a little in, like, what are we trying to cut? That was my thing.
In committee, we would like to discuss what may have been vetted and proposed by senior staff and cut to achieve X number.
And I'm wondering if that was from our thing that we did at the science thing here. And it was the end all stuff that she brought into us and then they spoke about. But I didn't know of anything that had come up that what needed to be cut or anything like that. So I was kind of a little like, I was gonna bring that up and be like, okay.
No, I'm
So
glad you did, because if he has a concern, we need to address it. But I'm kind of having a problem here connecting the dots.
yeah, that's same here.
Going for the higher level individuals in the room.
I mean,
So that was a strategic planning session, and
Yep.
I don't know that we're looking to cut programs. I mean,
I didn't know that there was anything. I remember that one of the main target things was the education pavilion stuff that we
Mhm.
wanted to do. What was it called? They changed the name of it to Young Explorers or
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
And we really wanted to get that going, but I didn't hear anything about cutting anything.
No.
Maybe it got cut? Because it was originally in.
No, I think what he's saying is that
3
he's
years ago.
recalling some discussion during strategic planning retreat that said, well, to accomplish A and B, we need to eliminate these things. But I am just not connecting the dots there, because I'm not even aware of anything significant that we're aiming to cut. You know,
So, okay, so that was
I'll
the,
follow up with Mark
Yeah.
on
Okay.
that, you know, and that's on me, because I must have missed that, because I'm not remembering that verbiage all. When was it, December 12th?
yeah, he said it. And then we were gonna have the meeting, last week.
Mm-hmm.
And then it got pushed back, so this
Mhm.
kind of got pushed back too, so it's like, okay.
All right.
So that was budget and
I'll
upcoming
follow up.
priorities.
Yeah.
So recent and pending spending support is generally Ryan, and I know that he sent an email out, just giving an update, and I have it here if we need to, but it was a lot of what you went over
Okay.
a second ago. I think some of the really good things that I always look on here is like endowment, that was up another 10%, but something I think really shows how special the museum is the fact that charitable giving's up to double digits.
Mhm.
I mean, 12%, and then 61% of the visitors come from outside of Martinsville, Henry County, and I think that's big.
Yep.
And I think, I always told Ryan, I absolutely love the maps that he does. And the Waynesboro site, where the one map is, 46% of our visitors are from Southern Virginia, but another 8% is Central Virginia, but our largest one is 9%, and that's Shenandoah Valley, which is where we're gonna put the Waynesboro stuff. So I
Yeah, I
mean,
think people are responding pretty good.
they're coming down to see what we're about, to see what they're gonna get,
Yep.
which I think is really nice.
Yeah, we're getting some free marketing
Yes.
out of the efforts.
Because I mean, when you get 1% this and that, but we're almost in we're almost in double digits for Shenandoah Valley and Central Virginia.
Mhm.
Well,
So, I mean-
keep in mind too, Cord, that it's going to be an interesting comparison with this map that Ryan provided and the next he'll provide, because that will cover January, February, March. And in February, we're opening up the new dinosaur exhibit. So one, that's a draw.
Yep.
But two, we work with the governor's office. We did this one other time in the past, but we work with the governor's office. They're putting out a press release statewide that announces that if you are a state employee, you get free admission to the dinosaur exhibit.
Yeah, that's
Right.
awesome.
So I think what we're going to see is a slight change. Now, we remember from last time, a lot of people not a lot, but there were people who called the museum and they were like, hey, can you give us your address or something like that? Yeah, it was 21 Sterling Avenue, Martinsville, Virginia. Like, Martinsville? Oh, I guess I'm not going. Yeah, right?
Mhm.
Because they didn't realize that we were 3 hours away. So we'll get some of that, but I think we're going to see a change in the demographics because of that.
I just think it's kind of cool that we're looking at obviously growing Martinsville,
Mhm.
but now we got to think Waynesboro is big apart.
Yeah.
And we're seeing 10% of our visitors are coming from there to here.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's really nice.
It's growing reputation. And speaking of outreach to different parts of the state, and just so you'd be interested in this, Cord, that we've partnered with Danville Science Center. We are going to be submitting a proposal to the Caesars Foundation for education programs at the 3rd grade level. And as such, the way it's going to work is that Danville Science Center is going to be hosting field trips from Pittsylvania County schools using this money if we're successful. What we'll do, since they don't do outreach into the schools, we will then have money to cover salary, travel expenses, and so forth to bring our message out into the schools.
Nice.
So, yeah, it's a good partnership, and
Yeah.
I'm really glad to see us working together on that.
I think one of the things I would like to see grown from the museum part is the distance learning.
Yep.
From the schools, because everyone like us, we've got the big screens in all the rooms and stuff,
Mhm.
and it's so easy that if we can grow that makes it so much easier on Christy and her staff to where they can stay
I hear you.
at the museum and
And
do that one-on-one.
They're
and
absolutely willing to do it, but the schools just don't respond well to it.
It's teachers.
Yep.
The
100%.
admin want to do it, and teachers
Mhm.
think, oh, that's an extra job, that even if y'all send out all the packets and take them and drop them off at some point, they want y'all there to do it because they don't have to.
Yep.
And
I
so,
think that's a
but-
big part of it.
Yep, I really do.
And I'm on the education committee, and we talk about this regularly. And if I could be wrong about this, but I seem to remember that post-COVID, the focus was really on getting the kids away from the screen. So it's either the person in there at the classroom, or it's the kids in the museum.
Yeah.
I mean, we just got this wonderful technology. We got all this stuff going on. I would like to see it somehow just to where it just makes it a little easier on our education staff at the museum. So they're not running all over the country.
Yep.
And then you go for 30 kids and there might be 15 there or this or that,
Mhm, mhm.
when you can do it from right there. I mean,
Catch everybody.
yeah, just catch everybody. So, let's see, what else did Ryan have on this thing?
While you're looking through that,
Yeah.
I also, it's related to everything that we're talking about here. My director's report is going to be a little different flavor this time around, so we should be sending that out either today or Tuesday. And what I decided to do, and we all got together and worked on this, we have a 5-part, it's just 5 pages, and it's all graphs and charts. There's not a lot you all have to read. So it's basically a 5-page kind of historical look at various aspects of museum operation. This includes the endowment, appropriation, growth of our research staff. Help me out here, Jonathan. I should have brought a copy with.
As far as
The 5-year, but changes in visitation patterns, where people are coming from.
Yeah, that's the zip code data. That's
Yeah.
gonna be really, really cool to see.
Yeah, and there's one other, but my point is that I think what it does show is a number of really cool trends. One is that, we are now just about at the size of general fund appropriation that we were in 2008. So in 2008, after 2008, we crashed and we built back up to 2000. But instead of a $3.2 million general fund appropriation, we should be closer to 5.
Correct.
And so we used that leverage with Delegate Phillips. And this was actually a former board member, Jim Siebert, who actually started this conversation with our local delegate. And so both he and Senator Stanley have put in for this General Assembly session a budget adjustment. It's to start slow. We're not asking to get up to $5 million, but to bring our education staff up to industry standards as far as their salary goes, right? So,
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
so we got that coming, and I think that's all comes out of this historical look. The other thing I want to add is, something is a question you had at last board meeting, Ford. It took us 15 years. We got to the $1 million mark for our endowment. Okay, cool. We had a little party at the museum, and the foundation got the high five and everything. But with the power of compound interest, we extrapolated out with a lower interest rate than because our investment team has knocked it out of the park, right? But we can't expect that growth forever. So we reduced it to half of what we've been experiencing over the last 15 years. But with the rate of gifts, if that stays the same and we receive a reasonable return on investment, that at 8 years from now, we will be at $5 million in the endowment, and at 15 years from now, we'll be at $18 million.
Yeah, because we really saw growth hitting hard around, it's funny, around COVID. We started jumping up 50,000, 60,000, but then it was from 22 to 23 was almost 100,000. Same way with 23 to 24 and so forth. So, I mean,
well, this graph should begin to grow exponentially if all goes well. We don't have a stock market crash, another recession,
Right.
anything like that. So those are things we don't control, but I think we've got the endowment in a good position such that when Jonathan's got gray hair, the museum will be benefiting a lot from the private support, particularly the endowment. So we'll send out that report next week at latest, and hope everyone has a chance to look through it.
I wouldn't mind seeing in some point in the future, I know just me coming in new on the board 10 years ago, I wouldn't mind seeing, I wouldn't even begin to know how much it would cost, but have a little stipend in there to where first time board officers could go somewhere for some type of training, just to get their feet wet a little bit, and all together as like the executive committee, whether it's Nathan, me, Mark, and somebody else, whoever's that slate of officers, and it could be as cheap as $500. I don't know, but y'all send us somewhere and do some type of training, just to.
You have something in mind, like I know, like for instance, Duke University, and not just on Duke campus, but at different satellite locations, they do the nonprofit.
Leadership Southside. We've got Leadership Southside, and we've got the nonprofit management stuff. And the neat thing about that is it's a 2-week course. You do a week. I think the way we did a week in April, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, something like that. They provide all food stuff. And then you did another week in like June or July, something like that. Or it might have even been August. It didn't do the summer. And then you're done. But it was really intensive. And like one day it was strictly on FOIA. One day it was on ethics. One day it was on this. So you kind of got a foot in the door of just like, what are you expecting? What are you doing? It kind of gives you an idea as opposed to just jumping in and being like, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
We'll dig
So,
through
it's just something kind of neat.
Well, like that, maybe not cost prohibitive.
No.
I looked at it, it's like $8,000 now.
Yeah, but
but like
that's a 2-week course, we could send them to a specific.
Yeah.
But like this,
cost center.
but this 2 week course, you can get into that now. For the normal one, is 3,000. But if you call up, I'm trying to remember the gentleman's name. He's one of the head guys at ILAR. They scholarship it down. If you're part of a nonprofit, it's like $300. And then the $8,000 one, there's an advanced class that you can go to Duke for 2 weeks and you stay on campus. And that one's a more intensive. It's after that though.
Okay.
So,
You gotta do that first.
but you got to do that one first, and then the other one, and they give you like a $1,500 scholarship for that one. So it still comes up to like $6,500. Yeah, that's a lot. So,
I like the idea. What we can do is we can pull up the archives, because I think we get advertisements along the lines of those programs.
Sounds right.
And as such, let me see, I guess the newest board member is Lauren. What is Lauren's last name now? She in her email, she still goes by Woodson, but she has a different last name.
right.
Um,
And I've got, I don't think, it's really funny, because let me see if I've got everybody's stuff listed, contacts.
well, while you're bringing that up,
I got
Lauren
Hall.
Hall, thank
Lauren
you.
Hall.
Yes. So Lauren's our newest board member, so we could offer it up to her for sure. And then we have at the February meeting, we are having in person 2 new board officers. So unfortunately, Roberto, I don't know what happened there. I got nothing, right? No communication whatsoever, but he did not get reappointed. So yeah, the governor decided not to reappoint him. So we now have a Smithsonian employee
Okay.
on the board, and we also have a retired Danville school teacher, Kathy. Can't remember Kathy's last name.
Have the pleasure. Yeah,
But
so-
unfortunately, the
What
challenge.
if it's Grantier or,
Nope.
I'll have to, I'll find out who it is.
All right, so the only unfortunate thing, of course, is that the fellow at the Smithsonian, he has a 5-hour drive.
Right.
The retired Danville teacher, unfortunately, she retired, but she's moved to Williamsburg. So bottom line, though, is we could offer it up to them and look for opportunities for them in their particular geographic regions. And then, once we kind of establish that, then others who might be halfway through their term, maybe they're just beginning their second term. or
Well, I
something.
just know me and even Mark, and there's been a couple of us that when I came on, I was lucky enough to where a week before the meeting, so I was able to talk to you a lot.
Right.
So like I felt comfortable going to the meetings. I don't think I voted the first 2 meetings on anything, because it was like I didn't feel like I knew enough or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think going into it, if we got more participation and they were able to, a little bit of training, a little bit of talking to you, maybe an extra meeting or 2 before,
Mhm.
then I feel more comfortable speaking up during the meetings
Yeah, get other
too.
board members, like, these are the questions I had to begin with.
Yeah,
This is how I handled it, my team, like, people that are getting close to the end, have them go, hey, this is.
because we've had a
this is similar.
few over the last couple of years that are fairly new, that they don't show up as much, but when they're there, they don't talk, it's like,
Doing the same, they're just probably listening, trying to,
right, and they're
Yep.
trying to figure it out. So I just wonder if there's a way of trying to make an easier transition. So,
I know Mark and I have talked, maybe it's more socially about some sort of like board buddy, like mentor mentee, like senior plus new person, like the executive committee sort of like assigns that. Of course, that requires somebody being willing to be like a senior mentor, just to help people onboard a little bit, because it's you're not wrong, Cord. It does take a little bit of time to get comfortable, especially when you're only meeting 4 times a year and not necessarily always in person. So I don't know where the direction for that comes from, whether it's from the executive committee or the board as a whole, but I certainly support something like that.
yeah, I was lucky because Barry Dorsey always said, Cord, why don't you show up an hour early and we'll grab a biscuit or we'll do something and we'll talk a little bit. And then we always stayed after when we're eating lunch a little bit and talk more. So he really was like pulled in and really wanted to talk and stuff. And we got a couple of us that do that, but as a whole, it seems like when we do our board retreats, everybody's fine with each other. And then after that, it's almost like that warming up period again of getting people to talk and this
Well,
and that,
the
so.
timing's good because, again, Lauren has some experience under her, but she's still relatively new. We have the 2 new board members, and then I think we get 2 more next year.
Yes,
I
at
believe
least 2.
we get at least 2 more next year, so that's gonna be, a third of the board is gonna be.
Freshman
And-
class, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm part of
pretty-
5 that's falls off
Yep.
in
Yep.
June or July, something like that, something that's like.
June 30th is your last
Yep.
day, so.
And we've alerted this administration does it different. I don't know if it's better or worse or the same, but we work directly with the secretaries. I'm sorry, we work through the secretary's office rather than directly with the Office of Appointments, and so they're aware of the overturn. Mhm.
Nice.
So I think we're good there.
Okay, so we've done that. Upcoming events and programs.
Yeah, so upcoming events is going to be pretty busy. February 22nd, we have Speakeasy on Starling. We've sent out reminder emails for
Yep,
people
saw
who want to
those.
donate to gift baskets for the silent auction. We've got some good response to that. The ticket sales are very strong, so we think it's going to be another very popular event. So again, this isn't made to be a fundraiser. It's made to look outward towards the community. And I think people appreciate that. And I also think, and this is anecdotal, but when we look at certain people's giving, whether it's through different levels of membership or actual checks to the annual fund, we've seen a number of people who've been participatory in our programs, their gifts have increased. So it's almost like an indirect fundraiser. We open up the new dinosaur exhibit in February. Ryan's got it in the, I'm not going to read through the whole thing, but you can look through it. But it's upcoming in mid-February. We think it's going to be a very busy time for us. Obviously, these dinosaur-related exhibits tend to be very popular. And then this will be going into next quarter, but in April, that's when we have our reptile festival. So we'll have a second very heavily attended festival, pretty close to these different events. And I'll also say I'm going to try something different. Just like Speakeasy on Starling is not meant to be a fundraiser, but it is in a way, it's an indirect way to generate further support for the museum. We're going to start a program, which again should be a break-even program. And we're going to see how the people of Martinsville and maybe Danville or wherever respond to this. But we're going to try to start maybe a 2 times a year series called The Natural History of Food. And so this will be an evening event on the weekend, cocktail attire, maybe $125 tickets. And so we've got a local chef who's most excellent. And this first one is going to be themed as the natural history of chocolate. So she's come up with a 7-course meal in which every course has chocolate or cocoa or whatever as part
I'll be
of.
there.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
That'll be there.
So it's not meant to be an inexpensive money-saving timeout, but we're also going to partner with Cocoa Trail, so we have an expert in the history and use of chocolate in society. It goes back to, I believe it's 2500 BCE, whatever. Yeah. So it's got this long history and stuff. So there's gonna be a little educational component with it over champagne. We move to the first course. The chef is going to talk about each course briefly about what it is and the influence and so forth. And then each course, it's 7 courses. We need to be careful, but each course will be paired with a small sampling of wine, except for the main course where you get a full pour. So we will have some input on assuring that we have a properly paired wine with
Definitely
each of the
want to
courses.
do that one.
Yeah, so we're going to start advertising for that later in the summer. It'll be October 4th, I believe is the date. First Saturday in October. So that doesn't conflict with other things in the community. So something completely different. We're going to see how it goes. We're capping the sales. We haven't made the final decision, but it's going to be somewhere around 45 to 50, right? And we're going to make it kind of this exclusive thing. So that's upcoming. Frankly said, this was something I started in Cleveland. It got stolen from me by my mentor. He kind of took it over, but they also really classed it up a lot more than I was doing, right? And it turned out to be very popular, and it was something that really helped that development department develop close relationships with the people who attended. So that's the stuff that's upcoming. Since we're talking about initiatives as well in this bullet point, if you look at page 5 in your advancement report, I just want to point out, we never really talk a lot about this. At the very bottom, we do talk about Museums for All. You can see the growth in the numbers since we started getting corporate support for it, starting in fiscal year 23. So we've had this dramatic increase, and it's still going very strongly. But also, if you go above that and you look at our purchasing, we are required by the state to prioritize spending to minority-owned, women-owned, and small businesses. So, and I think Brian's got a very nice graph here that we really should be more proud of, I think. If you look at our dealings with minority-owned businesses, we're triple the overall secretariat. For women-owned businesses, we're 6 times almost. And small businesses, we ride slightly above average there. And that's been consistent for years. So I just want to make sure that people in the business office are given the proper kudos for making all that happen.
I will say, the secretary's probably happy because you guys probably helped them with those who aren't doing so well to get those numbers up. And I will say, from my experience, it's not the easiest thing to do. So absolutely kudos.
Now they went to the annual procurement conference in Virginia Beach, and we received an award for being the top
Nice.
small business participatory agency.
Oh, that's nice.
So yeah, Bobby and Glenda did a great job.
That is cool. Okay. So is that all for upcoming and programs initiatives, Joe?
Yes, that is.
Okay, so number 5, discussion and recommendations for the next Finance Advance Committee. Obviously, I'm coming off in June, so we got to figure out who we want to nominate for that. And I saw what was it? You said maybe Ann Burnett or Carol.
Yes, I think either of them could do it. The challenge is there, and it's a statewide board. Ann is in Richmond, but that doesn't preclude anyone. Similarly, Carol is in Harrisonburg, and we can work around her teaching schedule for sure, just like what we do at the Waynes. We've actually switched our Waynesboro Advocacy Committee meeting day each month to accommodate for her teaching schedule. So there's no problem there. So that's my recommendation. That's something that Mark's going to have to. Mark's going to miss this meeting. I know he said he's had a lot of travel and he'll be in Europe during the board meeting. Melanie Clark, Dr. Clark, has agreed to chair the meeting. We're providing her with all the necessary information, but it'll require a conversation with Mark following his return to look and see what the future of this committee is going to look like. So just so you know, if we look at this, Cord on the agenda, but it shows the roster. You as chair, you will be going off. Ann will still be active. Sherry resigned, so she's been replaced by one of the 2 new board members. Nathan, you have at least a year left. I can't remember. You either go off I think you go off in 26.
It's either 26 or 27. I'm not sure.
All right. Tyler from the foundation, he's very active with us. He's a very reliable foundation president and so forth. So we will kind of change the makeup of this committee, but fortunately with Nathan and Ann remaining on it, we still have some continuity.
And see, it was weird because I don't know why I was thinking this. I was thinking Ann was one of the ones falling off when I did. I thought there were 5 of us all at the same time. Yet
She's going to be kicking on her second term.
Yes.
One of them, they were saying that I can't remember, Tom was the same as me, but he got appointed weird somehow, so
Yep.
he's able to come back
He
on.
finished an unfinished term.
Right,
So
and
he'll
then-
end up doing something like 12 years.
Right.
In Ann's case, she came on board at the same exact time Mark did. They came on simultaneously.
Okay.
So I think they go up for reappointment next year. So they'll have to work with their local representatives to get that. And that will, of course, be a different administration.
Well, it was weird because when I got reappointed, I didn't know I was reappointed until a year later.
Yeah.
I just kept coming.
Yeah,
and
you
they're like,
serve until
I got a
they're
little
done, yeah.
thing, and
Yep.
they said,
Yep.
"Welcome back," basically.
Yeah.
It's like,
Well,
Yes.
the 2 new board members, they're starting here February 1st. Technically, they should have been assigned in July 1st.
Yep.
You know, and but that's every administration.
Right.
You know, I mean, it just is what it is. So the model of having these 5-year terms is a good model, but models often don't reflect reality. Push to it. Anything else you want to cover regarding the kind of evolution of the advancement committee, finance committee?
No, I don't think so. I think that whoever comes in after me is gonna be real lucky, because like Ryan and Jonathan, they kind of crutch me up. They give me the numbers ahead of time. We're able to,
Well, that's their job.
yeah, have some really good things. So it's like, it's not something where somebody's gonna have to come in and just feel like they're overwhelmed.
No
I think
surprises. No surprises.
it's really, really good. I think everything is great.
I'll let Ryan and I appreciate that.
And I absolutely love just the numbers. If you look back, whether it's the endowment, you look on everything for the last 15 years, everything's growth.
Mhm.
I mean, even when we hit COVID, we you know, stayed out, it's still been up. So it just shows the quality of the staff we got here at the museum and how things are going. So
We were very fortunate to have the leadership we did in Richmond, you know, when COVID hit, because we all braced for huge impact, you know. But the decision was to not cut state agency funding, because, you know, when you think about it, state workers are still going to be going to buy gas, groceries, and pay rent and
Right.
stuff. So I think that was a strategic move. So we were fortunate there. But on top of that, the other thing too, you know, and this goes back to Ryan. Ryan's a very cautious guy and knows how to push at the right time. You know, in other words, he's not reckless. And so he works very well, say, with the endowment. We work with Stiefel, and they basically work with us to ensure that if times are good and the stock market's doing this, we're here. But
Right.
if the stock market's doing bad and it's down here, we're here, right? So we're not going to get that really erratic growth. It's going to be more consistent, you know. But that's a strategic decision, especially at this early stage in endowment growth.
yeah, I know one of the things that Ryan, we talked about in the last meeting here, was how to get more funding from Danville
Mhm.
into there. And I was telling him, and we haven't had a chance to talk during the holidays much, but Joshua Hearn, I don't know what his exact title is, but basically he's the head of grant procurement for DRF. So DRF has, right now, they have an annual budget of a little over $400 million,
Mhm.
and they have to give away X amount every year.
Mhm.
So like,
Zero, isn't it?
so we got our grant for all of our computers, all the stuff around here that we're doing. And if, from what I understand, if the grant's for less than 25,000, they don't even have to get approval. He just says, okay, they cut you a check for 25,000, you go for it. But from what he told me, and I'll let Ryan know this, was that they are willing to give money to outside counties and stuff. We just have to show how it's going to better improve
Mhm.
Danville,
Mhm.
whether that's a learning distance thing, whether that's coming over and doing classes at the Boys and Girls Club, now here, wherever and stuff. The amount of money will be based on how much does Ryan think. I mean, it could be a big program. Ryan says we need $250,000.
Mhm.
Obviously, it might be a little more paperwork, but they've got the money to give it.
Mhm.
So, and they've recently, over the last 2 years, what they've done is they've started community programs. They broke Danville up into 4 quadrants. They've started a committee for each quadrant. So instead of a boatload of people going and saying, hey, we need this, they send the committee leaders for each,
Mhm.
go there and talk to them. Well, in the last year and a half, they've built 2 splash parks, over $1 million.
Yeah.
Blue Park, there's one up on Grove Park. They're saying that their problem right now is they haven't had enough people ask for money for them to give it away.
Because they gotta maintain a certain
So,
amount.
so what we did, one of the things I just recently did, they had a cohort. I was the first on the cohort. They did an out of school time learning lab. And they ended up renaming it Leadership Lab. And we went once a month. There was 15 of us. We went to classes once a month, and we went to Charleston for a week, almost a week. And they used that money to educate the teachers or people that work with out of school time or stuff like that. But that, there may be something where we could do that with Christie's Education Committee, but we just gotta figure out how we're gonna tie it into Danville.
Yeah.
But the money's there, we just need to figure out what do we wanna do and how do we wanna ask for it? And then, like for mine, I did a small one, it was 20-some thousand. I didn't even have to fill out a form, nothing.
That's all we need.
It was like, but once you get into higher things, you know, they go through a committee, but if they see that it's a value to the community, they're gonna give you the money. It's there. And I think they have to give away 8% every year or something like that, but 8% of 400 million is a lot of money.
That's right.
They got the money when the hospital sold, I guess.
Yeah,
and all the
it's
stuff,
just
so-
like our Harvest Foundation, but
Yes,
the Danville Foundation has historically been much higher performing. Our Harvest Foundation is ineffectual. They spend money on low impact things and, you know.
yeah, I know they built 2 splash pads. They're in the middle of another one. They put in basketball courts and stuff there, and they want to do education stuff, but like they paid for 12 laptops, 8 regular desktops, 20 printers. I mean, all kinds of just.
You know what Harvest Foundation would say to that? They would be like, how long will those laptops last? And you say 4 years. Well, how are you gonna get new ones when they're run out,
Mhm.
right?
That-
Well, we just want to get through the next 4 years with equipment.
right.
Well, sorry, you have to find some other way to get the money.
And
You know?
DRF would look at it like, well, we can see a substantial jump in children's grades in 4 years.
Yeah.
So if we go from a C average to a B plus average, that's enough gain for them. I mean, so,
Different management styles.
yeah, it really is. And that Josh is just, he's a member here, comes and swims all the time, but he's just one of those guys that they
Mhm.
want to give the money out. So it's just a matter of, okay, let's set up something or figure out what we want to ask for and how it's
Yeah.
gonna do. I mean, to be honest with you, it could be so much as you might want to open up an office over here or something
Yeah.
and have like a little, satellite campus or something. They'd be like, yeah, we'll pay for that.
The thought of doing some kind of expansion of programs at Danville Science Center that, we have the specialty staff and the curatorial staff, right? So we can recruit PhDs and that sort of thing and provide, I haven't quite figured out what the flavor of that. Like, I'd like to find a model of another museum that's done that, or something similar to that, because, science centers are science centers. They're great institutions. They're not better or worse than natural history museums, but we have different kinds of staff. But to provide that flavor of experience to a partnering science center, I think would be a boon for us. But, so.
Well, I think
you bring up
something that's neat that would bring in extra revenue for the museum would be Christie teaching the school teachers during the summer, because they're always looking for someone to come in because they have to do
Continuing
like
education
continuing
credits.
education credits and
Mhm.
stuff. So Christie could go in and teach and it's generally 2 days,
Yep.
but they pay those people like $5,000
Something nice.
for 2 days. So Christie went and did that, and you say, make the check to the museum,
Well,
and
there's
she's already getting paid,
something
so.
we used to do like that where remember there was like a cabins or something somewhere where we
Yeah.
brought teachers out and did some.
That was VSSI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I know
This
that,
sounds more close to home for sure.
they're always looking for people
We-
like that
We
during the
need,
summer,
we
so.
need more staff.
Mhm. I
So-
did with a legislative ask.
Really. So Nathan, you got anything you want to add or anything?
I've been racking my brain. I don't think so. I did have one question. Maybe it's related to the endowment. I feel like at some point recently, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I was just became aware of it, but we made it easier for people to make sort of regular donations. And so
Yes.
I know, at least personally, that helps a lot. Just set it and forget it kind of thing. So I don't know. Is there, do you guys have a sense of how much of the endowment is these big gifts versus sort of regular ongoing donations?
It's the bigger gifts, to be blunt. So
Yeah.
you give generously every month, and we appreciate that. The idea was when we launched that was, hopefully we would get a kind of groundswell of folks who would want to do that. We did not see that. So what we did at the end of this year, or I'm sorry, the end of last year, was we did a small targeted campaign to, people who've been supporting the museum for a long time. And so we maybe sent out about 50 letters or so, and that yielded about $12,000. So I think we see kind of a mixed bag out there. There's people like you and me, for instance, that are signed up for that recurring gift program. And then there are others that just prefer, like some people that we hadn't heard from in a little while, but had a long history of donating. They gave a $2,500 check,
Nice.
So yeah, so it's not a lot, but with endowments, and you've heard me tell the story before. In Cleveland in the 1950s, at that museum, the board of trustees said we need to think about the future. Let's start an endowment. A lot of hair pulling and teeth gnashing. They did it. And then when I got there in 2000, the endowment was $180 million, right? So that's, 40 years of progress. So similarly, I think we're going to see the same thing, not just in the endowment growth. You'll see that in our historic report because we provide the projections. But I think that's also going to be a trend of seeing the slow initial growth in this regular giving program, the Discovery Champion, followed eventually by the increase. We're just not there at this point.
Well, at least it's another option.
It is. It is very easy to do.
And I know I guess the last thing I gotta say is just a reminder. I finished all my stuff up this morning, but you might want to, at our meeting in February, we might want to just let everybody know that, hey, you've got to do your ethics.
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
and
Yeah.
financial disclosure.
Jennifer's keeping up. with
Yeah,
that pretty good.
she sends it out. Some people may not
And you
catch
get
their
that done
emails
by
as much or something.
January
so-
31st. So
Yeah, so it's the 31st. I was thinking about
Yeah.
the next board meeting said, so
Yeah.
I finished all mine up today. So it's like, okay.
Yep.
No, and they'll go after you. They'll go for that 250
They'll
bucks
get
for
it.
sure.
They'll get it too.
I know for a fact because when
Take it out of your tax return.
yeah, when Cindy died, there was a lot of turmoil,
And so I have to admit that since I did not have Cindy reminding me of such things, I just saw this. I saw this strange subject and I thought it was spam. So I deleted it was their reminders, and then they called me on it, and I wrote them a check. So
Yeah, I see everything. Well, I go on and look just in case every so often
yeah,
and make sure it says submitted, not reviewed. So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, if no one has anything, I guess we'll adjourn this thing, and I guess we'll have to bring up the minutes at the next one or at the regular meeting or something.
no, you bring up both this meeting's minutes and last meeting's minutes at the next one.
Okay.
We can remind people that we didn't have a quorum, and so hopefully that will motivate some folks to come. That will be
Even if we're here, we can do the next one virtually, so we can get a virtual quorum.
Yeah.
We can-
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, even if we show up here, that way, because we'll call this in person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. So maybe we'll go ahead and plan on that. That next one will be virtual.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for showing up, Nathan.
You
Have a
bet.
good-
You guys have a good day. Safe travels. Stay warm.